Well, this is some wild and unexpected news, and possibly the most Nintendo way this could have been announced. Yes, it is true. We are having a live-action Legend of Zelda movie, or at least development on it has started on it. Nintendo just announced this a couple of hours ago. I saw this when I was in the middle of my work, or towards the end of my work shift. Had a couple of things come up, so wanted to get this video up as soon as I could. So thank you guys for checking it out with us. Yeah, this is kind of crazy for a multitude of different reasons. The big one that I think a lot of people are gonna take a look at immediately is that this is being co-produced with Sony. That's right, that's Sony. Sony's film division, to be exact. Nintendo's financing more than half of it so that they can retain the film rights, which is actually a really smart move, because the last thing Nintendo wants is for another company to have their rights to their IP. So them taking a burden of the financial risk is, in their eyes, definitely the smart choice here. And, you know, from the sense of the street, it's something that it's been in the works for a good number of years. You know, it's not the first time we've seen that Sony and Nintendo have been talking to each other on working on something together. You know, we saw this in the Sony leaked emails from a good number of years ago, where they were already talking about potentially making a Super Mario Brothers movie together. Obviously, that fell through because the rights to that ended up going, or not the rights, but that movie ended up happening at Illumination with Universal Studios. But, you know, we know that they've been in contact before. And so it looks like this is going to be moving forward. It's going to be produced by Avi Arad, who is someone who, in terms of the stuff he's produced, is such a pendulum swing of things, because you have, like, it's pretty outrageously bad stuff that he put forward, in terms of, like, yeah, let's make a movie. Morbius being the big one. But at the other end of things, he's also the one who pushed for the Spider-Verse films to be made. So, like a lot of creative people, you know, you're not always going to have hits. You're going to have your misses, and Avi Arad is one of them. For a lot of people, he's also the one who forced Venom into Spider-Man 3, which a lot of people now, with hindsight, said, yeah, probably not the best of ideas to make Venom appear in the movie. But back then, all of the guys were more mad that Raimi didn't pull Venom off correctly, because, you know, everyone likes Venom. They wanted the cool, badass black Spider-Man creature thing to be the cool, badass black Spider-Man creature thing, and we just ended up getting Foreman in a Spider-Man suit. But, you know, he's had a lot of kind of blunders like that, but he's also the one who told the Spider-Verse people, hey, you should make Spot the villain for Across the Spider-Verse, which, as we saw there, turned out to be a really good idea. So with him and Miyamoto working on this together, I don't think Avi is going to be having the crazy creative stuff that people are fearing. But again, like someone who's had input on so many movies and what they should be made, his track record is all over the place. So yeah, this is pretty wild. And then I believe they said that, as I'm kind of going through here, the director of this is going to be Wes Bell. Wes Bell is someone who did the... God, people are just... so this is kind of some of the stuff that he's been pitching in the past. This is Mouse Guard, which is one of his earlier things that he wanted to make into a movie. Obviously didn't get picked up, but I think Wes has a really good mind for kind of a fantasy world. You know, he did The Maze Runner, which the movies themselves weren't anything too spectacular, but the biggest fault that they had with those were more in line with the script rather than the directing. And Wes, in my opinion, managed to make the movies look pretty good for what he was given. But the real test for him will actually be Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. the new Planet of the Apes movies that is coming out here. I love the Matt Reeves Planet of the Apes movies. I thought those were some of the most phenomenal films that have, been made, just like the weight and everything to them. So this to me will be kind of the real test for him. This movie comes out next year in May. And so this movie, I think, for a lot of people, is going to be the litmus test if Wes Bell is going to be the right guy for it. But like I said, I think he's a solid enough choice. He has been, there's a tweet that got dug up from like 10, 15 years ago or like 12, 13 years ago, where he said like the next big movie franchise that should take notes from Avatar, and making like a big, beautiful world should actually be The Legend of Zelda. So that to me is telling me that, he's got a right mind for this. Still kind of a gamble to go with a kind of younger director, but it's a wait and see. The one thing that I think people rightfully should be worried about is Derek Connolly. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. Okay, I'm spelling his name right. Derek Connolly, he is a writer who's worked with Colin Trevorrow, guy who did the Jurassic World movies. Was originally supposed to do Rise of Skywalker before like all that stuff with the sequels went down. So he's been a co-collaborator with him. And so this is kind of the works he's done. Jurassic World was fine. Like, I don't think the screenplay was anything offensive. It was a serviceable blockbuster movie. Monster Trucks, Kong Skull Island, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. I love the MonsterVerse. They're just silly movies, and that was a silly, fun movie. Fallen Kingdom is probably one of the worst written movies I have ever seen. Detective Pikachu was okay. Rise of Skywalker, he did not write the version that got put on screen, but because of the Writers Guild, his name still had to be credited because they took stuff from his and Colin Trevorrow's original script, Duel of the Fates, which I wasn't a fan of the stuff that I saw of it. I'm just going to throw that out there. And then Jurassic World Dominion was dog water. And the big one is Safety Not Guaranteed. This movie, him and Colin Trevorrow won a decent number of independent and kind of newspaper critic awards for writing. So that's why I'm not entirely convinced that he's the wrong person for the job. It's just that I guess it's going to come down to like what you want from a Zelda movie itself. That'll kind of determine this, because I know some people don't want it just to be a generic blockbuster. I think people want like a lot more depth to it, which is hard because as enjoyable as a lot of the Zelda games have been with their story, depth is something that I would not associate them with. They're good, or a decent amount of them are good. Some can even be great. I know for me, or for a lot of people, the ones that they look at as great is going to be like Majora's Mask and whatnot. For me, one of the like great Zelda stories was actually Skyward Sword. Like, this is the one that took me through a pretty amazing emotional roller coaster. And here at Anime Secrets, back when we did written reviews, I gave that like a 9.5 out of 10, or like pretty high score up there, because the game story really resonated with me. But a lot of Zelda games, stories are often take a backseat, So like I'm not like, for me, what I'm looking for out of a Zelda story, especially in movie form, is like keep me entertained, like get me, like give me some wowness, give me some like, oh, this looks great moments, a la Lord of the Rings. So those are kind of the two people that we know of in terms of behind the camera work who will be working on this. Casting news, obviously we're not going to get anything with the writer's strike still ongoing, which rumor has it, by the end of the week that should actually be resolved. And then we'll kind of move forward and see. So now, kind of getting the announcement part out of the way here, it comes down to this part here. Should they have done live action, or should they have gone with animated? And honestly, that's a tricky one, because one of the great things about Zelda, especially compared to Mario, is that Mario has had like a consistent art style, really. You see Mario, that's Mario. Like, there's something about the familiarity with Mario that they don't really ever change the design of him, like, ever at all. And that also extends to some of the characters closely associated with Mario. I mean, up until the Mario Brothers movie, Donkey Kong has had kind of the same design for like 15 or like close to 20, 25 years since Rare did the design for it. And so, like, those rarely get updated. But then you look at Link, right? You look at Link, and it's each one clearly has differences from the other. Like, okay, so this is fan work, so we'll go to like the 25th anniversary. Like, clearly each one has a different uniqueness to them, a different kind of style to them, but they're still Link. But the beautiful thing about Zelda is that each style can really work. And, when you play it, you're like, that's Zelda. That's a Zelda game. So, like, I think live action is actually a good call for The Legend of Zelda. And this might be kind of me speaking from nostalgia's sake, because, people around my age, we grew up, we saw The Lord of the Rings in theaters, and a lot of us, when we saw Orlando Bloom's Legolas, were like, that's freaking Link. Like, if they ever do Zelda live action, that is Link. And so, like, the idea of a live action Link doesn't really, like, make me go, oh, can they do it? Because I'm like, I've seen what a live action Link could look like, and, like, they could do this design again in the modern age. In the modern day, I should say. Like, it's not out of the water. Or, not out of the water. It's not out of the question that they could do it. So, but I know a lot of people were wanting it to be animated because, we all had convinced ourselves, hey, yeah, we're gonna get the Smash Bros. Cinematic Universe. I know us here, when we did our Mario Brothers movie review, we even talked about it, like, because of the success of it, like 1.45 billion, has easily outgrossed all the other video game adaptations combined, like Mario Bros. Movie. Like $1.362 billion for the first animated Mario movie. Crazy. And then you look at the runners-up. Like, the next three combined still don't match what Mario did. So it was safe to assume, like, oh yeah, dude, we're gonna get more animated Nintendo properties, right? And that's what I thought. Like, that's what I thought was gonna happen. And Nintendo just kind of throws a curve out there and says, we'll go a different way with this. And I actually think that's a really smart idea. Like, you know what? I'm fine with that. We don't have to worry about people arguing about roster spots on the Smash Bros. Movie. But it opens up for other Nintendo properties to be made into live action, which I think there's a few of them that would work better as live action than animated. Like, Zelda is 50-50. Because I know a lot of people, the type of animated movie they wanted it to be, I don't think we were ever going to get. Because they straight up just wanted Studio Ghibli to adapt Zelda. Which, understandable, Studio Ghibli films are amongst the most beautiful animated movies you will ever see. And everyone wants Zelda in that kind of style. But again, I go with, like, Zelda has so many different art styles that they've used throughout the years. Like, the only times the styles were consistent were in games that essentially, or not essentially, but that were just follow-ups to the prior games. And a lot of the times, they were follow-ups because they were reusing the assets. Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask. You know, flipping assets to create a new game, new story, but everything, like, fell in line. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. Same thing. Flipping assets, keeping the same art style from the prior game. So it works like that. But then, like, you look at other games that have been released in Zelda. You know, we go to the GameCube, one of the one of the biggest points of contention. Wind Waker to Twilight Princess. Like, completely different art styles, completely different aesthetics, but they both still work. So I'm not going to be dismissive of a live-action Zelda because I wanted an animated one. Because I think it could work in live action. And we've seen Zelda with different art styles work. And so I think that's one of the strengths of the Zelda franchise is, like, its setting and its stories lend itself to a lot of different art styles, a lot of different ways to portray it in other media, similar to Batman. So I'm on board with live action. I think it can work. But yeah, like, even the people who were wanting the Zelda movie to be animated, I know the most popular one was the Studio Ghibli one, but, you know, people were thinking like CGI or more like classic Disney or, you know, more anime style. Like, there's a lot of different styles that I don't think people really had a consensus pick on how the number one style should be. So, you know, I think it'll work. One of the biggest things is they gotta have people in charge of this who care, who like the property they're working with. I think one of the biggest weaknesses we've been seeing in adaptations into Hollywood films is a lot of the times the people who are working on it don't treat the property that they're adapting with the respect it should be treated. So having people working on the Zelda movie who like The Legend of Zelda, who understand The Legend of Zelda and what it is, I think that's going to be kind of the more important part of it. And we'll see. Like, it's always tough to kind of grade a lot of these things because, like, we just have words saying who's working on what. But I have faith with Miyamoto helping supervise this and being one of the producers on it. That'll be decent at the very least. So now comes the next question. Or, I guess kind of the more fun part of this is who should play who. I know Variety here had like a list of actors who they were kind of throwing out there on who should be playing who. I think right now they're like starting to update with people who should be Ganondorf. Scroll through here a little bit. No, not Justice Smith. He was like my least favorite part of the D&D movie. Jacob Tremblay, he was great in Wonder. You know, growing up, man, this kid's growing up. I remember him in Wonder. He was like 10. A lot of people are thinking him. Scobell from the Percy Jackson series. Just like a decent number of names on here. I know people jokingly are throwing around Tom Holland. I myself am gunning for Timothée Chalamet. because I loved him in Dune. I've loved his work ever since I started seeing him with his breakout hit in Call Me By Your Name. I think he's great. Jokingly, people are saying Tom Holland because, people are saying Tom Holland because Avi Arad is producing, and, I think the rumor is like he was one of the ones who was shooting for Tom Holland to be Drake, which, no. I myself am not a fan of the Tom Holland casting jokes or rumors in general. I don't think he'd be the right actor to play Link. One that I could be a dark horse, Asher Angel from Shazam. I thought he was really good as Billy, and I could see him pulling off Link pretty decently. So, a lot of different picks on there. It's going to be tough because whoever they cast, people are going to scrutinize the heck out of because... And the one thing I got to say is, I know some fans don't want Link to talk, but I'm going to, I'm just going to say it. Throw those things out the window. Link is going to be talking through this. And I've read enough of the, or not enough, but someone who's read the Zelda mangas and whatnot. I'm used to Link talking. Like, I'm used to it. I just don't have a voice in my head. Let me try to find some panels here. Yeah, so Link has talked in the mangas, has talked in the manga. So, like, it's not something that's out there for me. And I think it's something that's gonna happen. So, I'm not, as cool as it would be to have whoever plays Link pull a Nicolas Cage where they just grunt for the duration of the movie, I just don't think that's feasible. You definitely are gonna need a protagonist who can talk. So I think, spoilers, Link is going to be talking, but whoever they get is going to get scrutinized to heckin' back with whatever voice they choose to go with Link. Zelda's a tough one because it really depends on which version of Zelda they want to go with. Because unlike Link, because Link kind of has a lot of traits melded into one. Like, even like the super serious one, I'm not using edgy as an insult, but like the edgier Link from Twilight Princess, like, they all share the same personalities together. Courageous, a little bit lazy, a little bit sleepy, always up for adventure, like laid back. And then since Tears of the Kingdom, a little bit, or not Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, a little bit of a smartass. The Zeldas are all wildly different. Skyward Sword Zelda is not the same as Breath of the Wild Zelda. Breath of the Wild Zelda is nowhere near the same personality as Tetra from Wind Waker. So it really depends on which version they want to go with. And that one's going to be tough. So I don't know too many actresses. Like, the only one that I kept thinking of for some odd reason is Catherine Newton from Detective Pikachu and Ant-Man fame. One of my buddies, he pointed out potentially Sadie Sink from Stranger Things. Another person from Stranger Things fame, Maya Hawke. So it's gonna be tough. It really, for me, or for really anyone, it should really come down to when the writer and the director says, we're gonna be going with kind of this take on Zelda. And they may even make it their own take. And then Ganondorf, if they go with Ganondorf, Uh, one of my friends said Ron Perlman, which absolutely he has the voice to be Ganondorf. For myself, I would go with Idris Elba, because I think he's got the intimidation, the aura, the voice to be like a really, really good Ganondorf. But who knows? Like, who knows if they even go with Ganondorf as a villain? So those are kind of like my picks for the actors to for the voice. Not the voice. God, no, it's live action. To maybe take on the roles. And yeah, no. Why can't I think of anything? No, those are kind of my thoughts on the Zelda movie. I think the potential is there for it to be good, but live action video game adaptations have been, or let me rephrase that. Video game adaptations have struggled in the past, both live action and animated, to garner any kind of like critical or financial success. For as much as I loved and enjoyed the Mario Brothers movie, stepping back and thinking it on a critical standpoint, it was like a 7 out of 10 movie. It was a fine enough movie, which appealed to everyone. Critically, I think it's like maybe it finally reached 60% on the Rotten Tomatoes, so it's got like an average score of 6. But it is like the first mega hit for video game movies we've had. And so we knew that Nintendo was going to be chasing this because, like, why wouldn't you? There's money to be made. They are essentially kind of the last big... They're like a well of untapped property potential for movies, because all of their games have been, for the most part, like fantastic and unique and have like a lot of crazy settings that are primed for adaptations. And Mario was the first step. Zelda seems to be one that they're gonna dip their toes in live action, and if this is successful, I think a Metroid movie would work better in live action. But that's just my opinion on there, But I think there are properties that Nintendo has that would work better as live action adaptations than they would animated. But before we kind of even jump in on that, they gotta make this one's gotta be a success. And the Zelda, in terms of IP for Nintendo, is like their second. Is the second child that they care the most for. Like, in terms of money, it's Mario and Pokemon, who are 1 and 2, but then Zelda. I think people are underestimating the appeal of Zelda because, they think, oh, it probably doesn't sell that much. Dude, Tears of the Kingdom has almost sold 20 million units, and it only came out in May. Like, it is hitting numbers that most games wish they could reach in their lifetime. So the audience for the Zelda franchise has grown significantly since the Switch's release. And, a lot of people are naturally kind of like hesitant in jumping in live action. But I think if a company is going to make it work, it's going to be Nintendo. And if this is successful, we're gonna be in for some interesting times. But that's just been my opinion on it. Let me know what you guys think down below. Drop down who you would cast as Link. Who do you cast as Zelda? Who do you cast as Ganondorf? Would you adapt a game, or would you basically make your own timeline and pick out characters throughout the series? Let us know what you think down below, and remember to sub, follow, and like. Anyway, this has been Miguel from Anime Secrets. I'll catch you all later.